Morning to you and welcome. I am Chisom Chinedu. And when I was coming out this morning, I noticed that there is a little bit more movement that you would ordinarily have on a Monday in this part of the world. And if you're listening from outside the southeast, we don't need to remind you that in this part of Nigeria, Mondays are an extension of the weekend holiday. That is because the sit at home which started in 2022, if I am not mistaken, August 2022, has been on till this very day. The governor of Anambra State, Professor Charles Chukwumasalude, has banned sit at home and has given civil servants in the state a mandate to go back to work or have their salaries cut for every day they do not go to work. All of this we get to look at on today's edition of the Polity. The Minority Caucus is having a no movement on the new tax laws. And of course, Franklin Nebuka is here. Good morning, Franklin.
Good morning, Chisom, and good morning, everyone. I'm Tony and everyone listening to us this morning. Starting from what he just mentioned about sit at home, the increased movement of people you noticed this very morning, maybe it could be linked to the segment which was made by a number of state government that is going to enforce some actions to ensure that people get back to businesses on Mondays. And I must say that so it could be seen as the right thing to do so that life can be restarted in the southeast, or basically in Onitsha and some other parts of Anambra State, because in Oka, if you go to Oka on Mondays, you will agree with me that there has been a drastic change in socio-economic activities. These days, if you go to Oka on Mondays, see that the Oka gets to open, New Market gets to open, Market by the roadside gets to open. In fact, schools do open on Mondays. I do see students going to school on Mondays.
I've also seen.
Okay, but here in Onitsha, the reverse is the case. It's a stark contrast compared to what we have in Oka. But at the same time, I will also ask the governor to, one thing he has to do for us to get to know that this is very, very serious is to address the issue of workers not coming to work on Mondays, because I have been at Udala Secretariat on Mondays on about 3 occasions, and guess what? Even commissioners were not on seat. So let government start from there. Ensure that commissioners get to report to work on Mondays. Civil servants, let's see how others can, borrow from this very action.
Absolutely. Dr. Tony Elisambeki is here to do justice to all of the matters on our desk. In-house analyst. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Chisom Chinedu. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, Indianambra. Good morning, Onitsha. Good morning, Ndi Osumohu. Good morning, everyone under the reach of our voice. It's a lovely Monday morning this morning, and today being the 26th day in the month of January in the year 2026. We thank God Almighty for being here, for His mercies, for His forgiveness, for His love, for His kindness, everything He has been doing in our lives. Because without Him, we won't be here, and without Him, you will not be listening to us. So He make it everything in His own way. So we appreciate Him for that. We move on with other things we have today. Remember, I've always said this is our sanctuary, and we will not in any way desecrate our sanctuary, bring any form of profanity, and also try to mess around with the opportunity given to us to tell our people the truth, because what we do mostly every day is to tell our people the truth. That's why we are here. But most times it could be like a bitter pills. But then it's better say the way it is than trying to meddle it or trying to make it look so sweet. It might not really be so sweet, but it might be bitter. But it's better to be bitter than being sweet. So you are welcome. So we're going to deal with so many issues arising from this decisively and get along with other things we have this morning for you. You're welcome.
Absolutely. On our desk this morning, we have the Nation, the Punch, the Vanguard, and the Guardian newspapers. On the Nation newspaper, tax laws. House of Reps rejects Minority Caucus report. And the writer here is fireworks likely as lawmakers return from recess. That's on page 4. State governments or states got 6.73 trillion naira from Federation account in 11 months. That's on page 5. Revenue surged by 29.08%. Delta Rivers, Lagos on top of the table. Petrol, diesel, LPG prices will continue to crash on page 7. That we have also seen, and we just hope that it comes down to the point where we Nigerians can say thank God, I heave a sigh of relief because we're an oil producing nation and we shouldn't be, having to buy at exorbitant rates. And page 7 again, Dogara Okiro Amosu Okay Tinubu. And how Lagos is battling widespread refuse mess on pages 23 and 6. That's a special report. Kano Governor Yusuf picks APC card today on page 4. Ruling party receives Governor Motfwang in Jos tomorrow. Tinubu for Turkey to deepen partnership on page 8. Oyo rolls out statewide activities to mark 50th anniversary on page 27. As Holdings appoints 2 non-EDs to boost corporate governance on page 17. Bank's valuation rises to 17 trillion naira on recapitalization on page 5. The rider here is growth is 388%. Cash, digital payments must coexist, as says NIBSS on page 16.
Okay, so it talks about Oyo State. I think Oyo and Imo State, they're marking the same anniversary because Imo State's also planning for its 50th anniversary. And a lot of activities have been lined up for that very 50th anniversary. Then talked about our president who has gone to Turkey. Okay, he's leaving this very morning. And, it makes me wonder how he's been in the past 2 weeks. The last time the president left, vice president followed suit and left for Conakry. From Conakry, he went to Switzerland. And this very morning, the president is going to leave, and the vice president return on Saturday. So it seems like it's been journey out of the country for the president and vice president in the past couple of in the past 2 weeks.
To even think that this trip is supposed to be a reciprocatory trip of Recep Erdogan's visit to Nigeria in 2021.
The thing is, when we begin to equate whatever gains we get from all these very foreign trips and look at what we put in there in terms of finances, because each time the president travels, of course, he goes with his entourage, and we pay stackled, fuel the private jet and what have you not. And of course, we have to pay for the hangar where the private jet is going to be parked. So all these things, if we begin to equate them, that's the way we can now situate all these very travels and know whether they are healthy for Nigeria or not. We move over to the Punch newspaper to see the headlines. And the big headline there says 2027 battle, Kano earthquake. As Yusuf dams opposition for APC, the story is on page 2. It has a rider. NMPP senator attacks FG over Kano governor's defection. PDP APC others slam move as moral collapse, not political gain. Inflation erases 2.8 trillion naira from workers' pay in 1 year. The story is on page 9. Of course, if you pay attention, you don't need any expert or any economist to tell you this, because that was last week, Tony. When we were making our analysis, I drew a comparison between items somebody purchased. I think in 2020, in 2022, was it 2022? No, 2020, and then the same items were purchased in 2026, and we saw about over 500 increments in the price of those commodities. U.S. export to Nigeria jumped 60% amid Trump tariff. The story is on page 8. Page 16. And somebody can say that, of course, this is what Donald Trump wants by all those tariff increment imposed on different countries. Discos reject FG's free meter plan. Check page 16 of Punch. This one says NDLEA naps Brazilian lady with 3 billion naira heroin at Abuja airport. The story is on pages 1 and 6. Minority caucus, House clash over law. Okay. Minority caucus, House clash over tax law probe. The story is on page 2. Suspected kidnappers kill police inspector during rescue operation in Oyo. The story is on page 4. And the final headline, the front page of Punch, says Tinubu shell in high-level talks over $20 billion Nigeria investment. The story is on page 16.
All right, then let's go over to the next paper on our desk this morning. Taking a look at the front page of the Guardian newspaper, decades of trade deals failed to win Nigeria off crude oil dependence on page 6. Nigeria's democracy excludes many citizens from justice governance on page 5. States should comply with Supreme Court ruling on local government autonomy, Kalu on page 8. Reps split over tax laws as leadership minority caucus clash ahead of plenary on page 6. How Olubado, Oni, Olugbo, others secured pardon for Igboho on page 7. Tension in Anambra as government bans Monday sit at home on page 8. Shell, while we are investing $20 billion in Nigeria on page 5. Unilag honors Wale Tinubu for contribution to nation building on page 7. And Yusuf rejoins APC, flags of parties e-registration on page 3. You can't speak truth to power under Tinubu, says Makinde on page 3. Bandits ambush police patrol team in Oyo, kill inspector on page 3.
Okay, that headline that says you can't speak truth to power under Tinubu. When I read it this very morning, I was trying to read meaning into it because we know that Makinde met with Mr. President last week, and after the meeting, he came out to say that he's comfortable in PDP, and Aydemma Fayose, former governor of the state, went on X to say that he was privy to what happened, and he put out what he thought was the conversation between the president and the Makinde. So for Makinde to have made that statement yesterday before former president Olusegun Obasanjo and former vice president Yemi Osinbajo, I don't know what he was driving at.
That's also where he said that he misses Osinbajo as vice president.
Exactly. So I don't know what he was driving at that very with that very statement he made yesterday. Whether he was trying to spy the government of the day or just speaking as a politician that he is.
Obviously, spite is the intention because that statement about Mr. Osinbajo has to be the height of it.
Okay. All right. So over to Vanguard's paper. The first headline we have here says $11 billion lost to skill shortage as tech sector grows workforce. The story is on page 21. It has a couple of riders. ICT output surges while skilled manpower feels dangerously behind. Competition for talent drives costs higher while companies bleed. Skills gap threatens long-term digital competitiveness. Then another story says why we are keen to invest $20 billion in Nigeria, Shell CEO. The story can be seen on page 12 of Vanguard newspaper. 2026 UTME, JAM cancels concession for albinos. The story is on page 9. Kajuru, Olawepo Hashim accuses fifth columnists in government, some security operatives or complicity in insecurity. The story is on page 13. I must say that this man has been trying to, ink his name in the minds of Nigerians because he has a presidential ambition under the PDP, and he seizes every opportunity he has trying to push his own narrative. Then over to another headline that says police intercept truckloads of 40 bags of explosives in Oyo. The story is on page 6 of Vanguard newspaper. God will rewrite Iwere story, Olu of Worry. The story is on page 12. Lagos to recover unpaid taxes through banks, employers, others. LIRS, that's Lagos Internal Revenue Service, is one saying so. The story is on page 10. And above the nameplate, we have two headlines there. One of them says tax laws. You can't speak truth to power on that Tinubu government. Marking there, the story is on page 10. Refs disown minority caucus's interim report on tax laws. Check page 8. And the final headline says, again, bandits abduct 6 Kajuru residents. And the story is on page 6 of Vanguard newspaper.
All right, then let's proceed to the conversation proper, and we're going to be doing that from home, like we always say. And so we're starting with attention in Anambra because the government of Professor Charles Chukwuemeka has banned the Monday sit at home. And of course, the governor went ahead to say that any civil servants who doesn't go to work is going to be penalized. The salaries are not going to be on pro rata basis. That's to say, the days you don't go to work, you're going to be surcharged. Why? the days Igagaro, Ayakuroi for those days. And of course, we are also understanding, especially from what Franklin said earlier, that this thing isn't just about civil servants. Literally everybody who is supposed to help him make this work doesn't even come through. So it's surprising how they want this to happen eventually. Now, a little backstory here. The sit at home started in August 2021 by the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, as a civil protest to press for the release of the detained leader, Nnamdi Kanu. Although IPOB later said he would not enforce the sit at home, but we saw what madness we had to live at times that it was enforced, especially in certain areas. I use certain areas because I haven't, only on very specific occasions, had to not come to work on Monday in the past 5 years, except on very specific occasions, which are probably health related. Every other Monday in the last 5 years, I have been to work. Maybe not Udala radio, a different radio station. And so what I'm trying to say is that while people are afraid of things happening in some areas, I am also aware that there is nothing happening in some other areas. And so what we need to find now is a balance. I'm asking Tony, how do we find a balance where everyone, everywhere in Anambra State can go about their businesses on Monday?
The truth remains that I have warned against this several times, and I have spoken about this several times, not because the governor is consistently and at the same time systematically trying to end what we began or what ordinarily started as a symbolic protest against the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu in Kenya sometime around June in 2022, which has lost its text, it has lost its rhythm, it has lost everything. It has brought upon us anguish. It has brought upon us sorry developments. But the truth remains that we cherish those things, and for us, we do not reason logically. We will say always, some people will always say that it's better. Let them know that the people are not really happy with the development. The truth remains that we've said many times that as for Nnamdi Kanu's arrest, what is required is political solution. And people think that the way to activate that political solution is by shutting down, sitting at home every Monday. But that's not the case. The truth remains that the worst crimes, according to Roman historian Tacitus, that the worst crimes are committed in the name of order. And when markets remain closed, schools lock their gates, hospitals delay treatment because patients fear venturing out, and workers stay indoors not by law but by fear, order has given way to white tyranny. Across the southeast, including Anambra State, repeated Monday sit at home without work have hollowed out productivity and opportunity. I don't want to talk about the losses because we know that according to comprehensive May 2025 report by SBM Intelligence, the Southeast region lost an estimated 7.6 trillion in economic activity between 2021 and 2025 due to the persistent and infamous sit at home. He has become infamous. He's no more famous. So I don't want to talk about that. Even the same report documented about 776 fatalities and about 332 violent incidents associated with enforcement of the shutdowns, with many deaths occurring when people defied the shutdown or were caught in clashes. So it is a very horror experience. But thank God people are beginning to see reason in some of these things. Because when the governor started this, I remember I was one of those who went around crusading that we must end this. Even the man we thought that we are doing this for has also voiced his concern that this must end. I'm talking about Nnamdi Kanu. But some are saying that they will not take his order until he's out of that very place before you take his order. Who are you doing this to? What is holding him there is not something that his sit at home will cure. How can you be applying medicine that has no business, has no relationship with the ailment. And it is obvious that the ailment is not responding to the treatment, is not responding to the medicine you are applying to it. And you keep doing it, saying that one day it will respond. What kind of insanity is this? Even when every evidence is before us that these two things do not correlate. And aside that, we have also expounded theory that it worsens everything. You want an Igbo man to be the president, right? You want this, you want that. But at the same time, we lack strategic positioning in the way and manner we do things. And outside that, we've seen on many occasions, we've seen from samples that the whole thing as we have it is political. Everything about it is political, and it is only political solution that will bring this out of the way we have it, or bring an end to this impasse, bring an end to this. And we are conscienceless. I've said it, many people are defying this. And when we are on rampage, on crusade, people said government should provide security. That if it provides security for us, that the enforcers that are on rampage, they're everywhere, they're trying to inject fear in people, trying to use that fear to get the enforcement. And we looked at the feedback from the people, and we felt that, because I was part of those who were clamoring that we must end this rubbish. And the whole thing boiled down to the fear. And before you know it, Operation Udogache came up. And we've seen the works they've done. They've been able to bust camps, destroy some of these camps, those who have been enforcing this. And if you look at those who have been arrested, who have been dealt with, they will tell you that they have been the ones enforcing this, trying to cause fear, trying to cause panic, trying to cause intimidation, harassment. But we've seen how these people have been eliminated. I don't want to use that security language, neutralized. They have been eliminated. And their camps busted. Many of them who were caught alive, they have been prosecuted. And we are somehow sitting idly, hoping that things will turn around. Can you tell me one thing this sit at home has not affected? It has affected our psyche as a people. It has affected everything about us. I don't want to talk about the material ones we can see. You're going to talk about education, where we lose an ample time that ordinarily would have put in investing in our children, investing in our people, education-wise. We have lost that. Are you going to talk about the issue of health, where we've seen people, because of they cannot come out and they die at home, and situations where they are rushed to the hospital will be running skeletally, and we have recorded so many deaths as occasioned by this. What are you not going to talk about? Where have we not been badly hit by this madness?
Okay, so let me add something. I'm going to do in two bits. One, I'm going to supply information I've gotten so far, and at the same time, talk about what people have said, because each time you interact with people, trying to ask them why they sit at home on Mondays, some of them will cite insecurity, and some of them will tell you it's a matter of choice. I heard somebody saying that he chooses not to go to his business on Mondays because sitting at home on Mondays reminds him that his brother Nanikano is still in detention, and that's why he sits at home on Monday.
Give me a second to tell you what one told me.
Okay.
He said that since after the Civil War, Igbos have not rested. They have been trying to make up for the £20 that we are giving, so they want to use Mondays and rest.
Okay. So what I'm saying in essence is that there are plenty of reasons people are going to give to you why they continue to stay at home, and when you probe for that, they will tell you that it is their choice to sit at home, and government will not force them to go to work or go to and do business, and they will tell you that it's their right. But when you probe for that, you will see that in as much as it's your right to choose not to go for a business, but when that your right begins to encroach on the right of others, it needs to be questioned. Why am I saying this? If market leaders declare that so market is open if you want to go for your business, you go for your business. It's a different thing than when the market is closed and nobody's allowed to go in. I don't even know if you're following me now. Because if the market is open, then people who want to go for their business will go for their business. Those who want to stay at home can stay at home. So two different things. Now, from what I gathered this very morning, as somebody in government house dropped a message for me that, okay, the way he already said, thank God for Governor Soludo, that office this very morning are looking differently compared to what it used to be. I also gathered that over the weekend that some schools told parents to bring their kids to school this very Monday. So if it's going to happen, let's see what of course we're going to get a report whether it happened in some part of Anambra, whether it happened or not. Because I've said initially that in Oka, and I'm talking about the one I know, not the one anybody told me. Anybody who lives in Oka will of course concur that on Mondays have taken a different shape in Oka. Where Oka still have challenges is the area of transportation. Take for instance, if you're going to move from Oka to Pulovia, if you're going to move from Oka to Newi, move from Oka to Onitsha, those transport companies, if you go to their companies or if you go to their parks, you won't see them available. But for schools, I've seen school children going to school. I have seen people opening their businesses. If you go to a Koka area by this time, if you'll be shocked by what you are going to see, trying to compare to what's obtainable in Onitsha. So why am I saying this? It's just for us to understand that we came from somewhere and we're heading somewhere. Now, whatever might be the reasons you might throw up why you are doing what you are doing, you might have a point. But if we are going to put that very reason to compare it to the general good of the people, would that very reason stand? Now, let's look at Enugu, for instance. There was a time the governor of Enugu State came out saying that he was going to end sit at home. He was criticized. In fact, people launched attacks on him, but he didn't back down. He continued. And I'm aware that some persons joined in the crusade. In fact, they organized a rally saying that people should begin to go for businesses on Monday because the economy of the state was being affected. And I think that people are beginning to go for businesses in Enugu as we speak. Though everybody hasn't joined, but there are people who now go for their businesses in Enugu. Now for Onitsha, I have this very view that from what I have gathered from people and from what I have seen in Onitsha, in fact since March this year, coming to Onitsha almost every day, from what I've gathered, from what I have heard people say, the money at home is no longer about who is being held. It's about choices people have made. Oh, this is the way I want to, this is where I want to live my life. Or rather, let me rephrase, it's no longer about insecurity. Insecurity is no longer the main reason behind people choosing to sit at home. It has cascaded to some other things which they have personalized. Why am I saying this? If we are going to take the records, let's cast our mind back to about 3 months ago. In the past 3 months, have we heard about any destruction made on Mondays as a result of people going about to do their businesses? I don't think we can pinpoint any that has happened in the past 3 months. So the issue of this is if we're really sincere about who we are, if we're really sincere about what we want to do, government has to do its own, what is expected. Then the people also have to do their own. Because for the people, sometimes it don't cut to your nose to spite your face. That's what you need to understand. You don't cut to your nose to spite your face because you think I'm doing this to pressurize Mr. B, who is far away, not feeling what you are doing. But on the other hand, you are the one holding yourself because nobody's now join and join. Each time government talk about how much we lose, I hear people who accuse government that the government has been promised some money in Abuja. That's why they're asking people to go for businesses. And when I begin to probe, you see that it's just a mere allegations based on nothing. That government is saying people should go for their businesses on Mondays, not because anybody has promised anything. It's because government knows that the state is losing tons of money. And when they say state is losing tons of money, it's not about money going to the coffers of the government. It's about the money reflecting the economy, because it's the money that goes into the pocket of individuals that reflect the economy, not the money that goes into the pocket of government. I think we need to understand this. So what I expect government on this one is this. The area where government has control, it has to go in there. I wouldn't like to see a kind of force whereby if anybody fails to open his shop and then force is used on that very person. But I believe that there could be a better way. One, to begin to appeal to the psyche of the people. Then for the government workers, yes, I must tell you, the one about government workers, I must tell you that I totally agree with government on that very one. If you don't come to work on Mondays, you will start. I told you, for like 3 occasions I had gone to Jerome Udoji Secretariat on Mondays. Everywhere was practically short, except security men. You see a little. Just imagine, Abuna General Secretariat on Mondays. Sorry, on Tuesdays. You see that from Aroma to Secretariat is always busy with tricycles. But when you go down Monday, you won't see one tricycle that can convey you from Aroma to that Secretariat.
You will track it.
That tells you how dry it is. So now government has said workers, you need to show, because workers need to show up, number one. Then commissioners too, they also need to show up. Then there's one thing I also want to clear, because I have seen people making an argument that Soludo is asking people to begin to go for businesses on Mondays, whereas Anambra State House Assembly does not sit on Mondays. I don't know where they're getting the idea from, because it's marks of ignorance. I want people to look for information. Go and check across the country. Most of the state House of Assembly, even National Assembly, they begin their sitting on Tuesdays. Check anyway, has never been on Mondays. So when people say that the House does not sit on Monday, I don't think it's not factual. It's not based on any fact. So let's be able to put things in proper perspective. If you are chosen to stay away from your business on Mondays, it's good for you. But where people say it's because of insecurity, that's where I have concern, because people who go to stadiums on Mondays, they don't care about insecurity. People who go for the appointment at Ihiala on Mondays, they don't care about the security. But once it comes to go for your business, they care about security.
And people who go to bars to party, once it's 3 to 4 to 9 and 10, they don't care about insecurity. They still go home by past 12 a.m.
Apart from that, if you go around Oka Road, you will see them doing some aerobics.
They don't care about insecurity.
You will see them doing all manner of sports, gym, and all that in crowd. They will be moving around. They don't care about insecurity. It's no more insecurity. That's the reason why people are sitting at home. It's not that. We must tell ourselves the truth. They keep giving one excuse or the other. We keep giving. Before now, it's insecurity. I was one of those that said it was not insecurity, and the truth remains that there are fifth columnists. You remember those people that will use WhatsApp and do voice notes to cast intimidation, to cast fear in people. You know, that kind of thing. So people listen to that trash, that rubbish. For me, the government has been very, very mild and magnanimous on this. If I were the government, if markets fail to open, let the markets be open. And let's see if people fail to come. It's a different thing altogether. It's a natural thing. But any market that fails to open, that market must be confiscated. Any line that fails to open, that line must. In fact, if people over time, if you fail to come out and open your shop, government will take over your shop. Revoke, because you're not ready for business. Unless you have a good reason why you should not do this. If government put this as a legislative law now, if the state assembly, because I don't buy the idea of coming up with things that are not supported by legislation, if it passes through legislative process, and there are times things like this come through legislative process to address such an anomaly, we are actually deterring, we are derailing, and government is out to ensure the progress of the people. At times, people may be doing what they think is good for them, but ordinarily, it is not good for them. And in this case, sit at home is not good for us. Whoever invented it may have invented it for a reason, but that reason is no more there. That's why he said he has lost his taste, he has lost his valor, it has lost everything. And this is something we do unto us. Can you imagine? I was speaking with my friend who is in Australia yesterday. He was telling me about hourly payment, telling me about how payments are made over there, that if we do not introduce hourly payment in Nigeria, we will be less productive. That every country in the world is anchoring everything on productivity. And most times when the presidential candidates of Labour Party in the last election will always come and tell us about productivity. Can you be productive by sitting at home? In a week, 4 days, 7 days, for those who are in public service, they go to work 4 times, 4 days. So they rest 3 days. And for what? Monday, Saturday, and Sunday. And you want to be productive as a person? You want to compete with Australia? You want to compete with advanced countries? You want to see, it is madness. And we're not talking about what we have lost against our peers around this country, other region. We are southeast. South, they don't do it. South, they don't do it. That's where the treasure of the country comes from.
All right, Tony. So let's talk about how to strengthen security. Regardless, as much as we have seen proof that insecurity cannot necessarily be held as the crux of the reason why people stay at home, because people are even more endangered when they are in a crowd, when they are in a crowded place, and the stadium is proof that people are in a crowded place and they don't even care about insecurity because they don't consider these minute details. So let's talk about how the government can reassure the people, probably by putting more security men out there. I drove from Nkwele Axis this morning to this place, and I didn't see a single checkpoint. Not one, Tony. Not one. And if you really want people to be more confident, you better put mechanisms in place to restore their confidence. I bet you tomorrow morning, by 6:40, I am telling you what I've experienced in over 1 month now. 6:40, get to 33 Junction by the police station there. The police officers have mounted a roadblock. And then before you get to the Nkisi River Bridge, there's another roadblock. And then, if you're not careful, by the time you get to that intersection between Magazine that now takes you to Ridge Road, then Stock Exchange, there's another one. The point is, isn't this intentional? I mean, it looks like the persons who are supposed to restore the confidence are not even confident themselves. So what do we do?
I remember the time there was this push about to end insecurity. That was before, to end the Monday sit-at-home. That was before the Anambra State gubernatorial election. Security was provided. We saw security personnel lining along different routes. We saw them. In fact, I went to Bridgehead that very day. Along that Bridgehead, we saw police. They were filing on roads to make sure. In fact, they were filing just I don't know how many meters from each other. They found presence. They showed presence, and they did that for some time. They filed along main roads, major roads. Was that not security? The idea is to tell people that we are here, that there is security presence. Anybody that tells you it's all about insecurity, fear, the person is not saying the truth. The person is not saying the truth, because we've seen effort made to address that, to deal with the hypothetical theory that it's about the fear of the unknown, insecurity. Those things have been taken into consideration. They have been well addressed, properly addressed. So it is no more such story. So what is the next story now? The next story is it has become something of psychological to our people. They feel this, would I say, dizziness, that today, when you are doing your business, you feel like I can go to my, the common, typical Igbo man, but that's not Igbo sense anyway, will tell you, I will come to my shop anytime I want to come to my shop, and anytime I want to go, I will go. Igbos in Lagos, they don't do that. Igbos in Kano, they don't do that. Upon everything, intimidation, harassment of our people in Kano, they still come out and trade. In Lagos, upon everything, they still come up, out and trade. If you go to Port Harcourt, they still come out. So why would Igbos in Southeast be behaving like non-Igbos? Where Igbos in some of these places have called, even Kaduna, Kano, Sokoto, they do come out with the presence of banditry. How many Igbo people have closed their shop because of banditry or Boko Haram in those areas we are calling? See, let's be real.
So
Let's be
I
real.
understand you, Tony. However, the presence of security, like you already concurred to, is very necessary, and it's supposed to restore the confidence of the people in a system to show them that it's actually working.
I agree with you because that is very joke that people always make that police station closes by 6 p.m. because of insecurity, And if we are going to bring this to fore now, I think that there's also the need for us to have that security presence on the roads, because there are people you will ask to, go for their businesses, and if they begin to see these security men, of course, it's going to improve their confidence, especially around schools. Yes, I know that there are parents who go for morning mass with their children, right? They go for morning mass with their children as early as 5 a.m. or 5:30 or 6 a.m.
I agree.
Then once they get home, they can't send them to school because of insecurity, right? So you're seeing the contrast. But what I'm trying to say is this: for schools, if we begin to have security men mounted in certain areas, it's going to inspire some confidence, for schools. Likewise, for some kind of business like banks, for instance. Bank is a very sensitive place, and some others. If we begin to have security presence in some places, I believe that it's going to inspire confidence in some of them to go about doing their business. In as much as I still primarily believe that the main reason for people still staying at home now is no longer insecurity. It's now personal choice. It's not personal choice. Personal decision people have made, and doing this because I just feel that it's now more convenient for me to use Mondays for meeting. These days, I see churches who have now turned Mondays to their, service day.
Fellowship days.
Apart from fellowship, there are many Orapos. Clubs are having meetings on Mondays.
Exactly.
And not just having meetings on Monday, we see people go out for social activities on Monday. So if you can go out for social activities on Monday, converge in places, relax in places, eat, entertain, you cannot open shop.
No.
Who is being hypocritical?
So where I now fault people is this, because they will tell you that it's my business. If I'm losing money, they want losing money. But you get to find out that they are concerned about money they lose on Monday on Tuesday morning. The way everybody rush out on Tuesday morning, as early as 7 a.m., 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30, go to the road and see how people rush out. That tells you that we are concerned that we're losing something on Monday and trying to see how we can make up for it on Tuesdays.
All right, then. Let's take a break now, attend to a commercial. When we come back, we take a look at what's happening with the tax laws. And, of course, Franklin, remind me again, discuss rejecting FG's free meter plan. That's another important thing to watch out for. Keep it locked.
Udala Radio, 104.7 FM.
Measles and rubella are deadly diseases. They spread fast, can cause blindness, brain damage, miscarriage, and sometimes death.
Every day, Nigerian children are at risk. But there is good news. The Saints can protect your child. The Anambra State government will conduct a mass vaccination campaign for children 0 to 14 years from 4th to 15th February 2026 to protect children across the state from deadly diseases. Take your child 9 months to 14 years for the measles rubella vaccine today. Complete all routine immunization doses from birth. After the campaign, routine vaccination continues in all health facilities. Vaccines are safe, effective, and paid for by the government. Don't wait. Visit your nearest health facility or vaccination site. Leave no child behind. This message is brought to you by the Anambra State government and partners.
You're listening to Udala Radio, 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
joined us, this is still the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. And of course, we're moving over to recent developments concerning the new Tax Law Act of 2025. Now, the House of Representatives has dismissed a report produced by its minority caucus saying it was informal, procedurally improper, and therefore not part of the official legislative records. The House leadership also reiterated that a bipartisan committee constituted in December 2025 is a recognized body examining the tax law issues. And so this rejection has highlighted tensions within the legislature over transparency, representation, and accountability in the reform process. Also, there is still this persistence of public anxiety about the potential unintended consequences of the tax laws, especially given past debates of VAT sharing and revenue formulas, and even the truth about what is and what is not, as long as this document is concerned. And so, Tony, let's take a look at the extent to which this minority caucus finding differs substantively from the officially gazetted versions.
The very committee that looked into the discrepancies, remember when Honorable Abdul Samad Dasuki from Sokoto raised this issue, many thought probably he was prevaricating, he was trying to red hair or distract the government from what he has penciled he's going to do. But over time, we began to look into some of these accusations and saw quite a lot of discrepancies. But the question is, which one is the real gazetted law? Government made certain denials, no doubt. And government said quite a lot of things, but the truth remains that the dispute, because from what we learned, that the disputes emerged in the House over that recently enacted reform law. The Alpha Gene, because I think that very committee or the caucus, the minority caucus of the House, led by members Alpha Gene, they formed an ad hoc committee that released such interim report that highlighted these discrepancies and alterations in the gazetted version of the law. But then, we are saying that the House leadership, from what we are told, rejected and dismissed that very report. And they called it non-binding, informal, and procedurally improper, since the committee was not officially constituted by the full House. So this clash has deepened divisions ahead of further plenary discussions on the controversial tax bills. Remember, I had thought that the minority caucus, is more like a club on its own, a clique on its own within the House enclave, because we must say things the way they are. Minority caucus is not a formal caucus of the House. It's not formal. It is not something set up by the House. It's just like groups or people with likes mind. You have majority caucus, minority caucus, you have the southeast caucus, you have the northeast caucus. All these caucuses, they are not officially set up by the House. They are more like social clubs within the House, and also people of like mind. So the minority caucus, led by Alpha Morgan, they came up with their own report. And the House said that it is procedurally wrong, it is informal, but they have right to ventilate their thought, but that should not be on behalf of the House. A caucus can deliberate over anything and dish out their thoughts, what they think about it. And they will tell you the caucus finding reveals this, reveals that. They did not say the House finding, because they were not set up by the House. And I don't see why they should also be shot when they do things like this, because whatever everybody does is basically in the interest of the nation. So, but they should not also misrepresent whatever they are doing to be on behalf of the House. Rather, it should be based on their own caucus finding. It should state it clearly so that it will not cause the clashes and some of the things we have seen.
Okay, Tony, let me add something, because Chisom, I was telling you that I spoke with Alpha Morgan because I wanted him to be on this very show so that we can hear from him directly. In fact, we spoke on Saturday, and we were to finalize yesterday night. And when I called him last night, and he told me that for now we have to we have to put everything on hold.
The execution.
Because the House told him to cease fire until after plenary on Tuesday. That's what he told me. And he shared the report that they put out. He shared the report they put out with me. Likewise, the report that was put out by the House spokesperson yesterday. Now, look at the report they put out. I'm going to read out the way it was titled. It carries January 23rd, 2026. It says, Interim Report of the House of Reps Minority Caucus Ad Hoc Committee on Tax Laws on the allegations of illegal alterations on the gazetted tax laws. So if you look at the label, it is well spelled out that this is the Minority Caucus Ad Hoc Committee report that they put out. And like you have talked about, from their report, they were able to establish that there were alterations to the gazetted copies of the tax laws which were published. In fact, they said in the course of their work, they were able to find out that there were about 3 to 44 versions of the past tax laws which were in circulation. And in fact, he reviewed the whole law. He talked about how they sent correspondences to certain people in government who were supposed to provide their own copies, and those people do not do anything. Now, what the caucus has been able to establish is the fact that there were alterations. And from the way the House of Reps has reacted, yes, House of Reps has made a point that the view of the caucus is the view of the caucus, and it was procedurally wrong for them to have gone to do that. But what the House failed to tell us is, has the House been able to conclude on its own investigation? What is the finding? Because I went through this statement that was issued by the House, where the House said that it has been overtaken by events. And I'm asking myself, which event overtook the need for Nigerians to know actually what happened? Because from what the caucus did, the caucus talked about a whole lot of alterations. Take, for instance, the reporting threshold. The one for individuals meant to be 100,000, and somebody slashes to about 100 million. And somebody slashes to about 25 million. That simply meaning that the person wants to bring in more people into the tax net, and what have you not. So I'm not going to rehash all the alterations they said they were able to find out. But where I'm going to is, it seems like the National Assembly is like a court, whereby if there is something of interest to the presidency, and people are asking questions about it, when the House doesn't want to be forthcoming with the answers, anybody who goes against what the House stands for, that person is not seen as an outcast. And the next thing is, if care is not taken, sanction might be used against you. Because I don't know what is going to become of Afama and Co. by the time the House sits on Tuesday, from what he told me. So now, Tony, would we fault this caucus on what they did? Because perhaps they are trying to see how they can redeem their own image in what happened. Would you fault the caucus on what they did? Would the caucus have waited for the committee set up by National Assembly to come up with its own findings without doing their own?
I think there is a conflicting interest and what the House termed procedural error. Remember, the House of Representatives before now has set up a committee to look into this. But just like you pointed out earlier on, we don't know the outcome of that work. I don't know if the committee has concluded that work. A House cannot set out a committee to investigate something, and the caucus is also setting up a committee. It's more like a House fighting each other. So I think that's where that clash is. If the committee set up by the House has done its job and comes out with its verdict, the caucus may decide to disagree with the outcome of that very report and possibly give their thought about that report.
Does the House have anything to hide?
No, they are not, because it's politics. Remember, the House is controlled by the APC.
Because why is it a problem that a caucus is doing something? It's not like you're being charged for it. It's just, doing this on behalf of the people they represent. And the most important thing is that at the end of the day, you point out the differences that you have seen. And if the differences tally with what I have seen, we go back to the drawing table and work on it. But it looks like the House is trying to cover something. That's why they're having a problem with whatever the caucus is doing.
We may agree that they may, or they are trying to cover up something. But every institution has a procedure.
Oh, procedure,
yes,
you say?
Every institution has a procedure. So I don't buy the idea where a House set up by the law tries to investigate something and you are under the leadership and authority of the house, because every member of the House of Representatives is under the authority and leadership of the house. And he has set up, and you are part of those, because once you say that the house has set up, you are part of those who set up that. And you went on to set a parallel committee against what the house has set out to do. The house cannot set out to do a function legitimately, and you go on to set your own informally to do the same job. It sounds somehow to me anyhow, but we cannot dismiss the fact if they are attempting to hide something. But for me, the Alpha Morgan, they couldn't have said we are setting up a committee. No. You can as well say the minority caucus will look into this and come up. The word, we are setting up a committee, where the house is also setting up a committee, and the minority caucus is also setting up a committee versus committee, one former, one informer. It makes no sense. What ordinarily they ought to have done would have been, as minority caucus, we are going to look into this. You are not setting up any committee. Okay. Generally look into it and possibly share your thought as a caucus on this. Not necessarily saying you are setting up a committee to investigate. No. You may not really need to toe the line the house has told, because you are also subject to the house, subject to the authority, subject to the leadership, subject to the rulership of the house. So you don't just try to mimic what they are trying to do, backed by the constitution, and you are doing it backed by your social law. So let's get these things separated. I'm not against what they have done, but I'm against the procedure and the terminologies they use.
Okay, so Tony, I want to read out an extract from the statement which was issued by the House of Reps spokesperson Aki Rotimi. That was yesterday, in response to what the minority caucus did. I'm just going to take a pass so that okay. I'll read it out, then let's see the meaning we're going to make out of this statement. Okay. It says, in December 2025, the House of Reps duly constituted a bipartisan ad hoc committee following the intervention of an opposition honorable member who formally drew the attention of the House to the existence of multiple documents purporting to be official gazettes of the tax legislation. The mandate of that committee, which comprises honorable members from both the ruling and the opposition parties, is specifically to examine those allegations. That committee was constituted by the House in line with the standing order, remains in force, and continues to discharge its assignments. Upon the conclusion of its work, it will lay its report before the House in plenary. Subsequently, the National Assembly, acting jointly through both chambers, published the official Gazette of the National Assembly and issue certified true copies of the enacted tax laws. The legislative process has therefore been concluded and given full legal effect. Now, I don't know what you can make out of these very statements, because on one hand, it suggests that the committee is still sitting. On one hand, it suggests that too, that issues around whether it was adopted or not has been concluded.
I think the members, the caucus, they should know more about this, because they are members of the House. They should know more about this if the House has concluded their own sitting with their report, and their work should also rehearse or look into the report given by the House. A House may give a report. You may disagree with that report based on the way and manner it was done, and it ought to have been included in their own caucus finding that the caucus has looked into the investigative system of the House and feel that the House did not get it right in this way, in that way, leading to the conclusion they came. And we have also done our own homework. Findings reveal that we've got this procedure, terminology.
So you're saying they should have waited for the House committee to finish its work?
Definitely. You are part of those that set up the committee. And the House said that they set up a bipartisan committee. What that means that those who are not members of APC were also involved in the committee. Allow them to do their work. If they are done with the work and you are not satisfied with the way and the manner the work was done, you can share your own thought. There is nothing that prevents a caucus from meeting. Look at what they call their own ad hoc committee. The House called its own ad hoc committee. A caucus, more like a social group in the House, also called its own ad hoc committee. So the House, you can't fight the House. You are also subject to the House. But if you had said that as a caucus, we are looking into this. You don't need to call it ad hoc committee. You don't need to call it even a committee, so that it won't be as if you are rivaling the house. You have sworn to abide by their rules of proceeding. So they ought to have done their diligent work, hold it to themselves, pending when the house releases its own report, they will flash their own findings. The idea is to serve the country. The idea is to expose corruption. The idea is to expose anything that is covered, but you must follow the right procedure so that you don't make mess of that.
It appears the whole thing has taken a partisan stance. You know why? Because the man who raised the concern is a member of the opposition.
Okay.
And then the way the House has been going about the investigation, it appears as if they want to manage it in a way whereby it's not going to be an embarrassment to the executive. Then those who are now on the side of opposition thinks that this should not be done this very way.
It should not be managed. It should not be pampered.
That should be told the way it is in white and black.
I agree with them, but the way you go about it matters. That's what I've explained here.
All right,
they should expose whatever they want to expose, but they don't need to look it as if that they are rival in the house, setting up ad hoc committee, setting up a committee. Nah. The caucus can do it holistically and present it as their own caucus finding, and then without in any way trying to mimic the house procedures. And the caucus should not do their things in a way house does its own thing.
All right, Tony. So several power distribution companies have publicly rejected the free meter plan, which was initiated by the federal government through the Ministry of Power, mandating prepaid electricity meters to be provided and installed at no cost to consumers under a World Bank funded metering program. Discourse are saying they are not going to go with this unless there is clarity on who will pay for supply and installation, noting that the policy is unrealistic and places undue financial burden on them. They argue that the government's directive failed to consider cost recovery and undermines existing meter asset provider schemes. And so, we understand that free metering is intended to improve billing accuracy and reduce arbitrary billing in electricity in Nigeria. And we are not even going to pretend like this is not a thing that needs to be rooted out, because you hear people who are still going through estimated billing groan about how expensive it is for them, especially with the epileptic nature of our power system. And so I am curious to find out, just like this discourse, I'm curious to find out who is going to bear the cost. We understand this is under a World Bank initiative, but we need clarity, okay? How is it going to be gone about? How are the funds going to be released? How are the procurements going to be done? And in what phases? Because we know that a lot of things are done in phases, especially where money is concerned and consignments are involved. In what phases? Don't you think these things should be clearly stated, Tony?
The discourse, the truth remains that if they were to be in countries like Kenya or Ghana or most of these countries that have taken public utilities so serious, by now many of them, their licenses may have been revoked for obvious reason. Government is doing what this discourse couldn't do. It is primarily the duty of discourse to meter their customer. Why government is coming in is because many of them lack the capital. The privatization, the way and money it was done was shabby. I've said it many times. And which also allowed corruption into the system. I'm very, very intentional and deliberate about it. Government is doing your job. And you are asking...
How is government doing? I mean, government is barely giving a directive. If government is doing their job, government would have gone ahead to do the metering.
Chisom, let's take you for instance. If you go to fuel station to buy fuel, who installed the meters that meters the fuel that gets into your tank?
The owner of the station.
The owner of the station? Mm-hmm. Did government do that?
No.
Thank you. You meter whatever you are supplying. But situation where we know that cost in that very area is capital intensive. There's no doubt. Capital intensive. And many of them who were given license ordinarily ought not to have been given license because they don't have the capacity, they don't have the threshold, they don't have the capital. You cannot come into a business where you will be going every time to the banks for loan to sustain the business growth, to sustain this. If you don't have the capital, stay away. There are those who may also rely on bank loans and other things, but they should bear the burden. Now,
hold on
I'm just trying to give you the background before I go straight into what we have here.
Please give me a minute. You used a fuel station as an instance, and it's a one-off thing. I come by fuel, you stay with your meter to control what you are selling and also help you for accountability. But these meters we're talking about are supposed to be installed in the different homes of the consumers. And I need just a point of clarity here. Now, we're having issues with metering, and is this because the people are supposed to pay and they are not paying? Or because the discos are supposed to, by law, are obliged to meter the people and they are not metering them? I need clarity on this. Are discos charged by law to meter the people? Or is there ambiguity on who takes up the cost of metering the people?
You asked, I think, very important question. Whether the discos are by law mandated to meter the people. And then, if not, who does it? So I think that's just your question. But I will tell you that the straight answer is that by law, they are mandated to ensure metering. You can't give supplies without metering people.
Okay.
So the truth remains that we must understand the imperatives. And if you look at how this thing started, it started when the Minister of Power, Chief Adebayo Adelabu, sometime around January 22nd, he made the declaration during an on-site inspection of imported smart meters at APM terminals at Papa, where he declared that meters must be distributed and installed free of any charges. No payment for the meter itself, installation, logistics, related, everything is free. And he said that this applies to all customers. Every customer from categories and bands from A to what? Where did that end? I think E. Or something like that. So I think we know very well that they are working with the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission to monitor and also prosecute offenders. I have always said that most discos, distributing companies, do not want people to be metered, though they do tell you go and get a meter, even when they know that the meter themselves, these meters are not available. So they will just say it casually. If you don't like what we are billing you, if you don't like our estimated billing system, go and get a meter. Just like a way of telling somebody, if you don't like what we are doing, go to court.
Okay, let me read this
It's
out
just
for
a
you.
code to court version of what they're telling you. But ordinarily, they give crazy billing system.
Let me read
Let's say
this
the
out for
truth.
you, Tony. It
Please
says electricity consumers are not responsible for paying for meters, transformers, or other distribution assets. Rather, the cost should be borne by discos and ultimately reflected in regulated tariffs over time, meaning consumers should not be charged directly for meters, but over time they pay by reflected tariff. They pay by buying units and having less because the distributors are collecting back what they spent in installing meters. And so all of the Oyibo is that consumers pay for meters.
Okay, so Tony, before you come in, let me offer this very background a bit so that we can move forward and then look at the consistency of the policy of the government when it comes to electricity. This very DSREP, which is a World Bank assisted program through which government wants to acquire a meter and then people get it at no cost. Now, what government plans is that they have a plan of bringing in 3.4 million meters into Nigeria under this World Bank assistant program, whereby electricity consumers will be able to get meters at no cost. Because ordinarily, if you want to procure a meter through the MAP, that's what they call meter asset provider scheme. It's called MAP. If you want to get a meter through that very one, for you to get a single phase meter, you have to pay about 153,000 naira for you to get that. But this one, government says at no cost. And as we speak now, what government has brought in is about 500,000 units of this very prepaid meter. They came in last week, and that was where the Minister of Power made this very pronouncement. Now, this is where the issue is, because these courts are saying, while the government has said that people should get this in at no cost, but the government failed to explain to the people what is behind it. Now, they are saying that this thing government has called free prepaid meters, they are not free. That they who are the discos, they are going to pay for it over 10 years. So they are the ones who are going to bear costs. But for the fact that these meters are the property of discos, under normal circumstances, are the ones who are supposed to provide it for the customer, because even if you buy prepaid meters now and install where you are residing, if you are living there, you can't take it.
Let's not also forget that customers are currently paying for prepaid meter.
That's what I'm saying. I said ongoing. I'm coming to that place. The issue of consistency of policy. That's a scheme called Meters Asset Provider Scheme (MAP), through which the arrangement is this: if you are a customer, or if you're a user of electricity and you don't have prepaid meters and you want to procure one, you go to EDC, as the case is here. You go to EDC, you apply for the meter. There's a process. After application, demand notice comes out, you make your payment and what have you not, you apply. Once you apply, once the meter is available, you pay for it. Like I said, one single fee is about 153,000. You pay for it and then wait for the day they're going to come and install. On that day they're going to install, those guys who are going to come and install, you are still going to pay them for the installation. Now, those people you are paying, you're not paying EDC. You are paying the contractors who are going to come and install.
Who is going to pay them?
You, as the person who they're going to install it for.
Stated by who?
You said?
Who state that?
No, we are telling you it was obtainable.
You know, the ones they installed in places where I lived before was done free of charge.
Your landlord didn't tip them anything.
Nobody paid anything.
Your landlord
no
didn't
tip. No tip. And I'm telling you, but it was many years ago anyway.
Hold on.
Around 2016.
That's what I'm saying. Come in. I'm coming to that very point.
Or 20...
10 years ago.
I'm coming to that very point.
Just quickly.
I'll come to that very point. So this issue of when those guys come to install, even if they need wire for the extension, we are the one who are going to provide for this very wire. That is what is obtainable now. Now, where I'm going to is these courts are trying to explain their predicament that government is not actually free. That they who are the discourse are still going to defray the cost, but it's going to be over 10 years because government is doing it because they don't have the funds for them to be able to do this. Then this case was now saying that under Babatunde Fashola, that government took out the job of installation from these schools and gave it to other people. You understand now? It's no longer within the power of the discourse. It's now handled by other persons. So they're now saying that if other persons who are not discourse are handling installation, so how would discourse now be the one paying for the installation when these people are different people? Now, Tony said they got a meter at no cost.
Many years ago.
If you check the policies we have in this very sector, there are retinue of meters procurement scheme, about 5 of them.
Yeah.
Do you understand? We have about 5 of them. This one comes, it goes as if it's not happening. They bring in another one. This one runs, it appears as if it's not happening. They bring in another one. So what I'm trying to see is this: the inconsistency of the policies in this very sector is affecting a whole of.
I know. Let's talk about the general solution,
which we need to streamline.
Let's talk about the general solution.
This, please,
remember, most of these discos, how many of them? I think 9 of them or 13 of them, 11 of them rather, they were licensed in 2013 after the privatization of Power Holding Company of Nigeria, and there was no capital base for licensing them. Many of them brought 20 billion, some brought 30 billion for them to be given license to operate and do what they're doing. You are coming into a power sector that is capital intensive. You are bringing 20 billion, 30 billion. But in all of this, that's where the problem started, because they don't have the funds. They don't have the funds to provide necessary infrastructure to run their businesses. But outside that,
can I ask you a question quickly?
You know what?
These monies they provide, where does it go to?
Definitely, just like to run a bank. If you are to run a bank, you provide a shareholder's capital. The idea of shareholder's capital, sometimes there are ones that will be returned by government. So you don't go bankrupt. You don't get liquidated. There are some of these
supposed to be invested in your day-to-day running.
You should be. There are portions that you have to invest back.
Okay, go ahead.
You don't understand? Say there are portions you have to invest.
That's what I want to be sure.
So you must have a capital base. But right now they want to correct it because the license given to them by 2013 is 15-year term. 15 years from 2013, I don't know when that will be. 2028. By 2028, many of them will come back to renew their licenses. But the current minister is now proposing that you must have a capital base about 500 billion naira for you to be given or for your license to be renewed. And if you look around, that amount should be about 250 million US dollars. Billion naira for year, between 400 to 500 billion. If they have got these funds, we won't be where we are today.
Okay.
Because they lack these funds. and they want to reap profit with no capital. You don't go to any business without capital. All of a sudden, you want to be making profit from business ventures and main market where you have not necessarily the capital base that will sustain that business. So the point I'm trying to make is this: that is where the problem started. So if you go to our laws, even the regulatory acts, you find out that it is the duty of these discos. They are the sellers. They buy power and sell to people. They buy from the transmission company. Sometimes the transmission company buy from the generating company. That's Gencos. They are just like fuel stations. Fuel stations buy from dealers. Dealers buy from depot owners. When it gets to your fuel station, you want to put into somebody's tank. You tell the person, you are going to pay for the meter. I'm going to use it to fuel your. That is what it's like. Pure ED. So
Tony,
where they don't have the funds, government decided to come and bridge the gap. Government caused this problem. During the privatization, they sold these things to cronies, to political associates, and now Nigerians are suffering. And they keep giving us estimated billing system. Many of them children have been in the business. Many of them are liquidated. They are bankrupt. They are sustaining themselves based on bank loans. We must tell ourselves the truth. This cannot be allowed to continue in this country.
Absolutely.
That's what I said. Like, government needs to. That's what I keep on saying. The inconsistency of their policies, because government needs to cure the malady.
Right
because
then,
if it's not cured from that point, or if it's not cured from that genesis, of course, we'll keep on running in circles, and at the end of the day, we'll make no progress.
commercials now. We'll be back to open up the phone lines to stay.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Quality bread, Wendy's bread, for your family breakfast. Wendy's bread, how about it and it was yellow? Wendy's bread, mama papa they like Wendy's bread, chicha and do Wendy's bread, even children they like Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, and in town Wendy's bread, you get the better tasty we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread, Wendy's your bachichoma. Wendy's bread,
Wendy's bread, tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, 2nd Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza at Tani Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
Nepa don't take light again. Wetin I fit do? Every day fuel don cost. How person wan take survive? I go cook soup today, tomorrow e go sour.
My people, why you dey stress when the sun dey your head for free? Switch to the affordable solar energy wey Wascana Solar Company dey give small businesses and homes across Naija, whether na barbing salon o, restaurant o, supermarket o, or your 2 or 3 bedroom apartment. Wascana Solar get correct durable solar wey go serve you wella. No more NEPA wahala, no more expensive fuel. Let the sun power your business and home for free. And no forget o, solar fans, solar lights, everything dey available. Call Wascana Solar now for 0806-374-2374. I repeat am, 0806-374-2374, or send email to wascanasolar@gmail.com. Visit their office near Olive Relief after Marble Hill School Junction, Okpanam Road, Asaba, or Classic Line Zone 2, A4 Electrical Dealers International Market, Obosi. Wascana Solar, Okumube.
Please listen to this important information on your good health. Do you know that many deaths nowadays are caused by ignorance on drug abuse? Do you know that many males and females now resort to the consumption of unhygienic concoctions for the treatment of various diseases? Do you know that some even take their lab results to traditional healers for interpretation? Now listen, abuse of scientific or traditional drug destroys the body system mechanism and it kills. Consumption of expired, adulterated, substandard and unpasteurized traditional herbal mixture could lead to health complications. So detoxification of the body and restoration of the functional organs is always necessary for your good health.
This message is sponsored by Anti-Drug Abuse Incorporated Headquarters, Annex Sunshine Hospital, number 4 Obanye Street, Onitsha, Anambra State, Nigeria. 08033 206819.
Drug abuse is an enemy to your good health. Be warned.
Join Anti-Drug Abuse Health Education every Wednesday by 8:45 a.m. on Udala Radio 104.7 FM Onitsha.
104.7 Udala Radio.
ọrịa arụbara na ọrịa osinikuku akpọrọ rubella bụ ọrịa ogbu na nwayọ. Ha bụ ndị nke na-agbasa ngwa ngwa ma bụrụ nke na-akpatara mmadụ ikpu isi, imebi ụbụrụ isi, atụ ọpụọ, ọtụtụ mgbe na-abụ ọnwụ.
Kwa ụbọchị ọbụla nwatakịrị ụmụafọ ala Naịjirịa nọ n'ihe egwu mana e nwere ozi ọma, ọgwụ mgbochi ga-echekwaba nwa gị. Gọọmenti Anambra Steeti bụ ndị nke na-achịkọba ọrụ ịgba ọgwụ mgbochi malite n'ụmụaka ndị a mụrụ ọhụrụ wee ruo n'afọ 14 nke ga-amalite site n'abalị 4 ruo abalị 15 nke ọnwa February afọ 2026 iji wechekwaba ụmụaka nọ n'ime steeti a pụọ na ya bụ ọrịa ogbu na nwayọ. Kpọga ụmụaka gị malite n'ọnwa 9 wee ruo n'afọ 14 maka ịgbagha ọgwụ mgbochi nyere ọrịa arụbara na ọrịa osinikuku akpọrọ rubella tata. Gbaa ụmụaka gị ọgwụ mgbochi ndị a niile malite n'ụbọchị a mụrụ ka. Ọ bụ na agbacha nya bụ ọgwụ mgbochi ndị a ga-agakwa n'ihu wee na-agba ya n'ụlọ nlekọta ahụike niile e nwere n'ime steeti a. Ọgwụ mgbochi a dị mma ma na-alụ ọrụ gogo. Ọ bụkwa nke a kwụrụ ụgwọ ya site n'aka gọọmenti. Nya bụ echenekwa ka agwa gị gaa n'ụlọ nlekọta ahụike ọbụla dị gị nso ma ọ bụ n'ebe a na-agbanya bụ ọgwụ mgbochi. Abrapụkwana nwa gị n'akụkụ. Ozi a si n'aka gọọmenti Anambra Steeti na ndị nke ha na-ejikọtara aka n'ọrụ ịgba ọgwụ mgbochi.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
It's absolutely time for you to get involved. Put a call across to 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. You can also drop a comment on Facebook at Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Hello, good morning. Please turn down the volume of the radio set.
My guest in the house.
Guest in the house?
Good morning, my chief speaker.
You're welcome.
The voice of Honorable Idense, Mayor, Okutume JP, Ukulola, Can I go on?
Yes, please go on. There is no guest in the house.
I thank you for all your analysis this morning. But I have questions on this sit at home issue, on what you said about it. It's not that I'm supporting the sit at home, but I want to ask, the governor of the state have right to force people to open their shop when they just feel like not opening? This is my number one question. Secondly, he said that we need political solutions for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. And I want to ask you too, what are, without this sit at home that people are doing? Because I knew that this sit at home is just to show that they are not happy. We are not even there. We are not happy with the way the federal government of Nigeria is treating Nnamdi Kanu for his agitation. This is what we are doing. But I want to ask you, apart from this thing we are doing, what are the governors of the Southeast and the Igbo people, the people that are at the helm of affairs of Igbo, are they doing for that to procure that to that political solution to release Mazen and the Kanu? Or are we going to put our hands and leave that man right there and die? This is my question. Then I want to also tell our people, as much as this situation is like this, there is no violence again. Anybody, even if president, even markets are being open, anybody wants to go to business can go to his business. Then, person, like I want to ask you, the person, when the Mbuka was open, they went and absorbed to the chairman of Mbuka. What has government of Anambra did to the family of that man? Till today, the man has gone, and nothing was done about his family. Thank you. I want you to ask me, please.
All right, Tony, go ahead and answer him. But before you do that, give me a second. There's no guest in the house. There's Tony and there's Franklin. Thank you.
All right. Quickly, let's answer that. You don't keep mentioning the Mbuka man. That happened many time or many months ago. And that was when the sit at home started, and then there was no Udogachi, there was no Agune chamber, there was no security. That was what happened many times so you can't use it as a reference point. So we say during analysis, people go and have merriment. They go for meetings, they go for different events on Mondays. And you are not talking about security while you go for these events, either meeting or social events or gathering or eating and drinking. People move around. You don't talk about security. So when it comes to the time to open your shop, you now begin to talk about security. That is by the way. Then secondly, government can force people to open shops through legislative process. If government comes up with any emergency act on sit at home, and in that the act specifies what becomes the punishment. Anybody who defies this over time, this and that, it becomes law, and it is acceptable. Government can literally force people to come out and open their shop, but it must be through a legislative process. Governor can also issue an executive order, which I'm sure governor has done, but he can expand and deepen the scope by giving it legal framework through a legislative process. That can be done. Then I don't know if he asked another question. He said when Awolowo was arrested by the government of Tafawa Balewa and charged for treasonable felony, he was in Calabar prison. There was no sit at home in the entire Southwest. And remember, they worship Awolowo like their idol. Awolowo is what many people think Nnamdi Kanu is, but in different contexts anyway. But the point is, they did not go and start this sit at home. What they were seeking for was political solution. And you ask, do people fold their arms? There are things you cannot do yourself. You can voice your concerns. There are digital ways. You can write to American embassies. You can write to any foreign embassies demanding that this be done. It must not be sit at home. You cannot shoot yourself in the foot. It is devastating.
Thank you for your
contribution. It is infamous.
Now. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, you have a minute. Please go straight to the point, and please turn down the volume on your radio set.
Good morning to News and Vicky.
You're welcome.
Franklin and Vicky. Yes, Chidi Chukuma, joining you from home. Yes, this issue of sit-at-home. For me, this is just a protest and also solidarity to Nnamdi Kanu. Nobody can dispute that. And this is why misinterpretation, and that is why Simon Eba is in prison now. Because the whole idea is that he is the one that introduced it. Even when people tell you that this is just a solidarity to Nnamdi Kanu, for you to get something, you must sacrifice something for that. And if you make any mistake, as a government or as a ruler, you must pay for that. So anytime you talk of what on both sides, from the traders and the government, I'm happy because this thing is making a very big impact. Contrary to the speculation before that, you lose nothing. Government say that they lose nothing, that people are just wasting their time. But now they are crying that they are losing something. That is the price you have to pay for the mistake you made. For the government, in their inability to manage the crisis in the southeast, and that is the price that they. So that next time when there is a crisis, the government will sit up and use diplomatic way of resolving issues. But for fighting just like that, and so many people have died, and then now the country is still in cancellation, and somebody is telling the workers that they must that they will seize their money. If you do that, I know that the people will not fold their hands, because you can't just do that, and you can't force people to go to their private business. Nobody can seize anybody's business or any line. It is not done. So all these things is just a making of a statement. If you want this thing to stop, go and release him Nnamdi Kanu instead of making couples, making noises around.
Okay, Tony, thank you very much. Tony, you were going to say something.
Definitely, he talks as if he does not understand this country. Go and release Nnamdi Kanu as if the governor is the one holding him. Is the person holding him, not the federal government, and you think you are doing government any good? Or you think that you must sacrifice something to get something, and where are you in the equation? You must read beyond your surface to see things ordinarily. You are applying medicine that does not work for a particular ailment. I said it during the analysis. And you are saying you are making sacrifice. Yeah. You are making empty sacrifice. No, you are not making a meaningful sacrifice.
Good
empty
morning.
one.
Good morning. 0803-221-6973. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Chisom. Mr. Speaker, Tony Becky, good morning.
You're welcome.
This is Monday Johnson. I'm not hearing you people. Actually, Mr. Speaker, with due respect, sir, the government cannot stop a civil protestation under democracy with a legislation. No government, no right-thinking government will do that. Sit at home is a protestation. It's just like saying that the government can come up with a law that will stop people by taking to the streets to agitate for anything that is working against them. So such a law will die naturally. In fact, a House of Assembly that is in their right senses cannot even give any asseveration to such a law. So please, I think when we talk of political solution, what political solution can we please define it? Because when the man is good, I'm forgetting his name now, went to Buhari then, and they demanded for Nnamdi Kanu to be released to him. If actually the government of Nigeria were ready for political solution or discussion, it would have started from there. Release him, hand him over to the man, and then initiate a move to discuss with the government, sit round table and discuss with the government, whatever the matter is. But the government, the body language of this Nigerian government is not even actually pointing at the political solution. So if anybody is talking of political solution, it's far from there. The only thing, besides, Mr. Speaker, if not this protestation, this sit at home, Nnamdi Kanu would have been killed secretly in that place. Sorry to say this. So please, we need to call it to the spade most times. So what people are doing is, it's not that it's easy for me here on Monday. I go to worship, or I close my shop on Sunday, and I close my shop on Monday. You think it's an easy thing for me? It's not easy for me. But we must give that solidarity to this man to see what the Nigerian government can do. If the Southeastern governments can come together and raise one voice and say we need Nnamdi Kanu, today Nnamdi Kanu will be released. What are we talking here? Please, somebody should please.
All right. Thank you for your contribution.
Let me respond to you. If you go to Aba, markets are open. If you go to some other states, markets are open. Why should it be Anambra State? I'm asking you. I guess you are not from Anambra State. Probably you are trading here in Anambra State. But if you go to some other places, markets are open. Why must it be Anambra State? Why would it center here in Anambra State? See, let's be real. If we all decide let's go to Aso Rock and protest, fine. But the idea, we cannot harm our children. We are harming our children, unborn generation, over what they know nothing about. And you are here making sense out of it. Look at how these people are denied basic things ordinarily they should have got. Can we suffer these ourselves and leave the children out of it? Why would they go to school on Mondays? Why can they not be attended to in hospitals on Mondays? Why would we carry this thing over to these young people who are vulnerable? Because we are making a sense? Let's be real. Let's be real. If you go to some other states, you see economic activities. Why must it be Anambra State? And some people, I don't want to go, talk things I know about this. And those who carry this sit at home, I know where they are from. I don't want to go and start calling them by their names.
Okay, let's not go to that angle, Tony. We take one more call and we head over to Facebook. Hello there.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, you have a minute. Good morning.
Good morning, Franklin.
Yes, good
My
morning.
honest in the studio, good morning.
You're welcome.
Anthony Mechata, I'm calling you from Onitsha.
Let's have it.
Please, to get this record straight, market I want to bring in Aba.
Some markets are open.
My best man, maybe the best man for me, this few minutes ago. Market, area, Zuko market, cemetery market, they are shut down in Aba. Only market that seems to open are this kind of market that does not have gate, which if you go street market, they are open as they are in Anambra. This issue of Monday sit at home, for me, is very, very funny to me. It's very, very funny. Because when this thing started, I am of the past that said that this thing that we are championing and entering into is not the right method to approach this. As it's going to ravage us and what we are called saboteur, people who do not want the freedom. But if it has become a reality that Southeast has come to live to, it has become a hypnotizement that Southeast has been engaged into, unknowingly to them. And I think it has become like a sacrifice, as some have called it, and like a religion. And there's nothing government can do about it legislatively, as Mesida opined, that the government can put a legislative framework to force people to open their shops. If government tries it, they are going to be faced with a lot of litigations because it's an infringement on one's choice. One can decide that on a Wednesday, he will open his shop. He has that fundamental right. And if government seems that they are sabotaging the economy, he has the right to hold opinion, to association, and for freedom, for movement. So, for government to put a legislative framework to force people who have been hypnotized in their own mind to sacrifice Monday as a means of support, which I know that is rather that. And government wants to put a legislative framework. It's going to Israel. Peter Mba, when he took over the office, that was the first thing he did. He started forcing people that every Monday, if you don't open your shop will be confiscated. And one of the days, they were trying to enforce it. A life was lost, and some people were injured. And it spelled doom for him in his governance. So if this government fails in the area of appeal, what I think that should be done, appealing to the people, even the government, there should be an orientation here and there. And also, there has been a big gap of mistrust with people in the government. If the government said there is security, as we are saying, it's not because of insecurity. The people just trust that the government of Anambra State has provided security. There's a huge gap of mistrust. So, there is a need for government to start gradually with their own
Thank you.
And I want to also correct one thing he said. Area market opens on Monday, but the turnout is usually low. Koha market opens in Aba on Mondays. The turnout is usually low. Cemetery market, Ezioku, they open. Even Ahiozo, they open. So you just don't say, I just say something, you say you call somebody. So when did you call the person? The truth remains that you don't say things out of emotion, and government can make laws, because why the law becomes important, this thing could be timed economic sabotage. You can decide not to open your market when you want, but when it is collectively done to the detriment of the economy of the state, government can come up with a law, and that law will simply say if the markets are open or closed on Mondays for a period of 1 month, you lose the license. Government has power to revoke any license given to for the shop you own. Is under the supervision and also the license given to whoever the government must have given to that rented it to you. Right. Government can decide to take it back for the fact you do not want to make use of it the way and manner you should have made use of it. If you buy a land, if you are given time to develop it and you don't develop the land, government can take over the license of the land. So you don't just sit down and think government cannot do anything. Government can do things, and it is in tandem with international best practices and in known law in the world.
Right, Facebook.
Okay, so I don't know how we're going to manage it because we are out of time, but let's see. Sebastian at EUS says he posted from an area federal constituency, and he says the executive order coming from the governor of Anambra State regards to Modi at home left a lot of questions begging for an answer. It's good to understand that a responsible government is the one that the welfare and security is the priority. But really unfortunate that the provision is only for the political elite. I'm trying to cut what you wrote so that I'll be able to accommodate some other persons. Ivan Sude says he posted from Onitsha, the money at home is an unfortunate situation in Southeast, taking us back in Nigerian politics. Sit at home has done us more harm than good. It's unfortunate that our people keep doing same thing, expecting different result. Anthony Mera, thank you for watching from Zamfara State. Which UB says he posted from here, I support the move by our governor to end the sit at home in our dear Anambra State. It's not helping us. Oluchi Chima says, let the governor come to my house and force me out to go and open my shop. Did the governor open business for me? Schools are free to resume on Monday, but my child will not be part of it until we are totally secure. We need proactive security system, not reactive security system. I'm cutting it short here because of time. Then the Collins Uzomo Wakwe says he posted from Onitsha about the issue on ground. I think the government should first of all address the issue at hand than saying no more sit at home. It will work like that. Okay, thank you for posting. Nuchen Anowai says, please tell President enough is enough for this constant traveling. Okay, number 2 Chokoye says, what if these men of underworld just lie low for some period of time simply because people keep to their orders? What do you think would happen when the orders are being flouted? And I think we have to cut it here. Dr. Mr. Molebara, King's son, Edu Brazil, Akuna, Taiwan, Boniface Ejikeze, Simeon Chukwebuko, Obinaya Shoes, Rinse Bartholomew Nede, Master Bay, Simeon Chukwebuka, and who else again? We appreciate all your input because we can't take all of them now because we're out of time.
We are totally out of time, but something struck me. Men of the underworld who decided to lie low and then they strike again. And I'm curious to find out, these men of the underworld, what population, what fragment of the population of the Southeast are they that they overrun the entire Southeast? I think it takes us back to the issue of security. I'm proactive one. I got a comment on my Facebook. It said, it's one thing for you to have policemen present. Are they really doing what they're supposed to do? Or collecting tolls and passing vehicles that have not been checked? Not checking vehicle paper. Have you checked what is in that boot?
Exactly. And remember, just like you pointed out earlier on, intelligence and then support system from everyone is something we must accept. If you look at comments here, nobody has, anchored everything basically on providing security. Everybody's saying, I decide to do this. If you go to section 45 of the 1999 Constitution, for those that says, it's my choice, it's my freedom, I have freedom of movement, I have freedom to decide. If you go to section 45 of the Constitution, that section provides that government can make certain laws that would restrict that very freedom you think you have under the Constitution. It says nothing in section 37, 38, 39, 40, and 41 of this Constitution shall invalidate any law that is reasonably justified in a democratic setting, and where government feels that there is economic sabotage going on and the people need to work, people need to thrive, there should be security, education. You tell government they cannot do it because you have
Tomorrow
freedom.
is going to be another time out here, 9:15 down to 11 a.m. Thank you for your calls and your contribution, for your wonderful analysis, Tony, and Franklin for being a part of today's show.
Yes,
I am Chisom Chinedu.
Yes, we'll leave it next time.
Udala Radio, 104.7 FM.
Ọrịa arụbara na ọrịa osinikuku akpọrọ rubella bụ ọrịa ogbu na nwayọ. Ha bụ ndị nke na-agbasa ngwa ngwa ma bụrụ nke na-akpatara mmadụ ikpu isi, imebi ụbụrụ isi, atụ ọpụọ, ọtụtụ mgbe na-abụ ọnwụ.
Kwa ụbọchị ọbụla nwatakịrị ụmụafọ ala Naịjirịa nọ n'ihe egwu mana enwere ozi ọma, ọgwụ mgbochi ga-echekwaba nwa gị. Gọọmenti Anambra Steeti bụ ndị nke na-achịkọba ọrụ ịgba ọgwụ mgbochi malite n'ụmụaka ndị a mụrụ ọhụrụ wee ruo n'afọ 14 nke ga-amalite site n'abalị 4 ruo abalị 15 nke ọnwa February afọ 2026 iji wechekwaba ụmụaka nọ n'ime steeti a pụọ na ya bụ ọrịa ogbu na nwayọ. Kpọga ụmụaka gị malite n'ọnwa 9 wee ruo n'afọ 14 maka ịgbagha ọgwụ mgbochi nyere ọrịa arụbara na ọrịa osinikuku akpọrọ rubella tata. Gbaa ụmụaka gị ọgwụ mgbochi ndị a niile malite n'ụbọchị a mụrụ ka. Ọ bụ na agbachanya bụ ọgwụ mgbochi ndị a ga-agakwa n'ihu wee na-agba ya n'ụlọ nlekọta ahụike niile e nwere n'ime steeti a. Ọgwụ mgbochi a dị mma ma na-arụ ọrụ gogo. Ọ bụkwa nke a kwụrụ ụgwọ ya site n'aka gọọmenti. Nya bụ echenekwa ka agwa gị gaa n'ụlọ nlekọta ahụike ọbụla dị gị nso ma ọ bụ n'ebe a na-agbanya bụ ọgwụ mgbochi. Abrapụkwana nwa gị n'akụkụ. Ozi a si n'aka gọọmenti Anambra Steeti na ndị ga ha na-ejikọtara aka n'ọrụ ịgba ọgwụ mgbochi.